Is this microphone working? Okay, now it's working. Great, fantastic. Okay, so getting close to the end of day two. It's time to spice things up a little bit. So I'm going to be a little bit challenging in my particular presentation. The title itself says it, Rethinking Blockchain. So I'm going to be here to challenge some of the paradigms and some of the thinking that is already out there about blockchain. I think that in the world of blockchain, effectively there's these different types of debates that are happening about how do you make blockchain, acceptable to the regulators. And mostly people are coming at it from the point of view of, the regulators have to somehow change what they're doing, or they're somehow trying to adapt cryptocurrency and making it to stable coins, and somehow this will be accepted. We have a different approach. So our approach is to rethink the whole protocol itself. So indeed, we've got a different type of protocol. We use that protocol for digital cash, so accounts and transactions, for documents and personal data management. We've got included in there partners like Microsoft now, that we're doing high-value documents with them, FIS Global. We're now building part of the new core banking system. A variety of other partners at the far right, that's Raiffeisen, so that's an Elevator Lab, working with them on a digital cash solution. So this has started to get some traction, and I want to share with you some of the stuff that we're doing and some of the underlying thinking. I come at this from the point of view of a banker. So I am probably the most crypto skeptic person up here. I think immediately, how do I make sure that I stay out of jail? So this is important to me. We have an organization now that's 85 strong. We got offices in London and Warsaw. We have 2 licenses, both from the FCA as well as in Poland from KNF, and a variety of different partners and awards. And our focus is really on the green bar. Right, so if you look at global GDP, global GDP from regulated markets is about 4 times bigger than the gray economy. So yes, if you are a huge fan of crypto, and by the way, I have some crypto, but if you're a huge fan of crypto, crypto's around to stay, right? So that's really for the blue bar. The real prize is how do you go ahead and you solve issues that exist inside of the green bar. And you saw the previous speaker, of course, talking about how do you make sure this is acceptable to the regulators. Click. Okay, so how do you make DLT, so I'm calling it kind of blockchain plus, regulatory compliant? Well, the first thing you do is you have to look at an understanding of whether or not blockchain is fit for purpose. And when we looked at initially a while ago, Bitcoin and then Ethereum and so on and so forth, we basically discovered that it's really not fit for purpose. We needed to rethink it. So what we want to do is we want to come up with a solution that works for national currencies within existing regulations. We wanted to make sure that there was no economic third-party agents, so no miners, no exchanges, and we wanted to make sure that there was no sort of issues around value or liquidity volatility. So we had to build a brand new DLT. We looked very deeply at the regulations, so we founded our money side solutions really on the e-money regulations. So this 2009/110 EC regulation about e-money. So that's effectively what we did in the UK. We got a license for that as well as in Poland. Then we looked at PSD2, we looked at all the AML regulations. And really, we had to think about how do you fulfill those e-money regulations? So how do you make sure that KYC, AML are embedded in the underlying protocols? How do you make sure, here's the problem in GDPR, right? How do you make sure that random nodes involved in processing personal information, are not violating GDPR, right? So if you think about it, if I've got a random node and that random node is storing personal information, storing information is processing, right? So you've immediately violated GDPR rules if you're using some sort of a public network where you're sharing personal information into the public network. And then lastly, how do you fulfill the right to be forgotten, right? If you have a document that's out there that's personal information and somebody says, please forget me, how do you destroy information on the blockchain? The blockchain is there to be immutable forever. That's really what Bitcoin is all about. So what we had to do is we had to modify things. So we had to rethink the underlying protocol. We had to rethink the KML and AML procedures of how do you actually embed those in the individual transaction so you can interrupt the transaction. How do you change the scheme of who's the issuer? I'll come to that in a moment, a little bit more. On the personal data side, how do you protect certain pieces of information and selectively allow access to other pieces of information? How do you handle the right to be forgotten? So we needed to make sure that, indeed we were satisfying, the durable medium regulations, but we had to put the document on chain. So it wasn't just simply enough to say, here's the document pointing to a hash. You had to have this ability to say, okay, here's a document, I'm going to rip it apart, I'm going to shard it. Some pieces of information are personal information, some pieces aren't. I can forget these, I can keep these. We had to rethink that whole architecture for data management. So what was the result? Well, our throughput was fantastic. We were actually really quite surprised. This is actually old numbers. This is from a couple years ago. We did this in the context of some micropayment transactions. So we took about 4,000 server nodes. We ran throughput analyses. We achieved about 2,000 transactions per second. It actually would have been higher if we had more nodes. And the way we did that is we had distributed consensus algorithms, proof of stake, zero knowledge proofs, all that other good stuff. So it's a really different type of an architecture. And then we made sure that it is true digital cash. So we made sure that from a regulatory point of view, it's truly cash on chain. So this is not a security. And then of course we had to make sure we're durable medium compliant. And then of course we had to make sure that when we're sharing data and logic, it's really not so much about sharing, it's about access rights. So it's about, okay, if I give you these keys, I'm giving you access rights. If I can destroy those keys, or I can take those away, or I can make those keys time limited, I can control who has access to what information. So we think we're the first system to be truly GDPR compliant. So let's now talk about digital cash versus stablecoin. So yes, I am a believer in stablecoin, but you'll hear that it's with a asterisk. So everybody's heard about Libra. Launching a cryptocurrency without consulting the regulators is probably not the best thing to do. So lots of people need to rethink Libra. I think Finality is a really, really great venture in the funds. And then, of course, the bank is reconciling, let's say, the everyday currency using traditional rails. So, from the point of view of the users, they don't even realize that they're using digitized cash. It just looks like any other type of cash scheme. And then the remaining 50 is sloshing around, and more users can come on and use it as well. So at the end of the day, it's an open network. We're huge believers in open networks. It's a open network, and the only thing you have to do is you either have to be permission, or in the case of the user C, you just have to respond to a text message with code, and you can go take out the ATM. Fairly open. So what we had to also do is we had to make sure that it was ecosystem ready. So we had to make sure that funds could be commingled, so multiple banks can issue, let's say, dollars, pounds. So a pound is a pound, a dollar is a dollar. If different banks are issuing, let's say, digitized pounds, every single pound is encrypted with their particular signature, with their particular key, so you know which bank it came from originally, so that when it becomes redeemed, it can be reconciled in the background. We had to make sure the systems are scalable, so the accounts are very, very light. They don't contain the complete history, so the nodes only contain the history of that particular user. They can fit on a mobile phone. And we had to make sure it's fully interconnected into existing ATM and card schemes. So it's very, very easy to adopt if you don't even know you're using encrypted funds. So comparison. So stable coins are securities. Distributed digital cash, it's exactly identical to the e-cash. So basically, it's a prepaid account, so it's e-money directive 2009/110EC. Stable coins, the value can fluctuate. Here, it doesn't fluctuate. The funds are in the bank. Even if there was a systemic risk and the bank somehow goes bankrupt, the first thing that happens is, of course, the client is always made whole. So, clients and shareholders of banks lost billions during the 2008 crisis. I didn't hear of a single user who said they lost money. It just doesn't happen. So anyhow, let's just jump into use cases. So what's so exciting about this? Well, if you can digitize cash, you can start thinking about some of the real problems that we have out there today and some of the exciting trends that we have. One exciting trend is gig economy payments. So most of these brand names people know. When we think about gig economy, we think about it as, the task economy. So, Amazon, Mechanical Turk, and TaskRabbit, and these sorts of organizations. Fiverr. I mean, so here's interesting. So if I go ahead and I do a task on Fiverr for $5, they don't pay me $5. What they do is they wait until I get up to $84, and when I get to $84, it's then suddenly economically viable that they can send me a transfer via PayPal. So this is how they're solving these sort of problems, right? And then of course you have trade payments and consumer payments out there. I already used the example of the temp worker. Kroger in the United States sends out 300,000 checks per month for temp workers. So the solution that most people use in the real world is alternative payment instruments. So they use prepaid cards, they use vouchers, paper checks. These are very easy to be stolen, lost. The moment that I buy prepaid cards from Sodexo, I've given up control to Sodexo, right? So I've sort of said, okay, great, now I can distribute the cards, but I might send $1 million to Sodexo. Don't really know what's happening at that point. It's very difficult to capture data from end users and integrate. So we analyzed this at one of our clients, and we looked at the Sodexo scheme in particular about how they have to, calculate the amount in order to send an invoice, a purchase order, working with multiple different banks, and the field force had to get involved because the cards would be lost and stolen. So we had 23 processes at that particular client. And what we did then is we implemented our solution, right? So we came in and we said, okay, we're going to provide you with this e-money solution. So we're going to provide you with the digital cash solution. The software itself is going to allow you to tailor this experience between the sender and the receiver. The beauty is that the bank gets to control the entire scheme, but the bank doesn't do anything. Right? The only thing they had to do was effectively provide, for us, these 60 different parameters, so to speak. So they're basically controlling governance by policy, but they didn't have to touch their back office. It's all API driven. And so in this case, then the business was able to control the whole innovation layer. They were able to change the user journey, and passwords were not stored centrally. Passwords sit with the end user, right? So this is the beauty of DLT, is at the end of the day, you can build a client-centric data model, a fully distributed model. So there's really no point of failure. There's no risk that that particular client's information about their end users are going to be stolen. So what was the result? The result was, we had really reduced it from 23 processes down to roughly 6 to 8 processes. And the company was able to put in place resulting task triggers to control the flows of money and control the benefits. So we had put in place an automation capability. So we had a payout panel. We also had it integrated into Salesforce, so they could control this directly from ERP systems. There was an engagement panel, which is pretty much new. So this whole idea that the user kind of goes to the engagement panel, and if they're engaged, they withdraw the money. So that was creating a human trigger. And then, of course, it was mobile-centric. So you get instant rewards, and that can be integrated into the bank account. Or, as I said earlier, if the customer doesn't have a bank account or they don't have desire to have a mobile app, you can ultimately just send it to the ATM as well. So many different ways to do it. For the FMCG, so we did this for 2 clients. We did it for a fast-moving consumer goods client, so for an FMCG. They saw 25% cost savings by getting rid of the Sodexo cards. Salesforce is no longer involved, so they had a direct relationship with the payee. And then they saw an 80% reduction of unspent benefits. Right? So if you remember how I said before with Sodexo, they would buy Sodexo cards for $1 million and then lose control. Sodexo is secretly hoping that those people that are not engaged will never spend the money, right? Because what happens is 20% of that money stays with Sodexo, right? If there's breakage, it stays with Sodexo. And It's like, Starbucks cards, but Starbucks is making 25% of profit from these bloody, Starbucks vouchers, for Christmas time, and people put it in the drawers and they never spend it. Now suddenly they're able to control the whole process end to end, and those people that are not so engaged, they don't pick up their money, and the money actually stays with the company. So it really is it's a different type of a user journey, it's a different type of a payment experience. And then also we did this for an insurance client, and the insurance client was focusing more on how do you get more volumes from independent agents by paying them instantly, linked to the task triggers of policies that are being written. They saw a 60% sales increase. So we think this is the power of basically using digital cash as opposed to using traditional rails. So what are the use cases? Esports, we've done a little pilot there, with viewers of esports of Twitch making micropayments to the shoutcasters, got a great rating on that, so it's very exciting stuff. In the remittance space, we're not yet doing remittance, but we're having conversations with a few different companies. We think the exciting thing about remittance is really about this ability to attach documents. So it's really about being able to send, for remittance, you have certain types of sanctions management documents, so FICA documents and things like that prove they have the right to transfer money, or that basically help to reduce the cost of doing any sort of an AML investigation because you can have more information on the sender. So we're looking at remittance. We're doing something I gave a shout out at the beginning for FIS. So we're putting in place part of their new core banking system that they're going to be shipping to clients next year that allows them to reduce the cost of treasury management for multinational banks by about 50-60%. So they're going to be able to have real-time inter-bank transfers. And then right now we're looking at some delivery versus payment opportunities as well. So linking documents again and test triggers and money movement all together. Okay, so that's it. So really the closing thoughts are, do you have to expect that the regulators are somehow going to change their ways and to allow the regulators to somehow accept crypto and stablecoin? Or maybe the regulations are actually there to protect us, and it should be blockchain that should adapt. So that's really our point of view is the second one. So any questions? I think I've got 3 minutes left if there are any questions. It's a perfect presentation. Everybody loved it. Yay! Day 2!